America, known as the land of the free and home of the brave. But what about the need to be protected? Protected against whom, you might ask? In times of war, the whom just might be those we ask to protect our nation. World War II, one of the most gruesomest wars in our nation's history. Between the years of 1939 to 1945, American soldiers were expected to carry out inhumane orders to accomplish victory over the European countries. Orders to shoot, to kill, and to bomb. Orders that turned everyday Americans into unemotional war machines. However, these same American soldiers were expected to leave their lawless ways on the battlefield. They were to become civil and law-abiding citizens when away from the front lines. This was not only hard for some, but impossible for others. America had a problem. Shipping impassive troops to another country and expecting them to handle the situations that arose was not good for politics. So how did we solve this problem? America formed the modern military police corps. Although there are traces since the beginning of armies of police-type duties, the military police wasn't official till 1941. In this episode, we will evaluate the life of one such man and his role as an MP.
My name is Marvin Neil Demers Sr. And what this takes place at is in Tokyo, Japan. I would belong to the 1126th Military Police Unit, assignment to the Far Eastern Air Forces Command under General MacArthur.
Before Marvin and the rest of the military police could be shipped over to Japan, they first had to learn their trade.
They sent me to Carlisle Barracks, and that's where I learned to become a policeman.
After graduating from Carlisle, the men of the military police corps were put on massive ships and transported to Japan to handle the problems that American troops would create.
I went overseas on the USS Simon Buckner, which is a huge troop transport ship. And we spent about 35 days going from here to overseas.
On the most part, American troops were not told much about the things really going on overseas. Upon arrival, they really had no idea what to expect. During times of war, the military doesn't have the luxury of constructing buildings to conduct their operations without loss of life. Therefore, the United States Air Force strategically plans out what buildings will work best in order to accomplish what they need. However, when 100,000 American lives are at risk, after being flown to Tokyo and witnessing the devastation firsthand, Marvin began performing his duties as a police officer for the military.
If you're on street duty, which is what we call it, you see the local bar, you go in to make sure that nobody's tearing it up.
Police everywhere seem to have the tendency to change the mood of a bar upon entry.
Everybody's raising Cain, and all of a sudden it becomes quiet. They want to see what's going on, and everybody becomes innocent then.
Fighting with drunken soldiers was a common thing for the military police. However, times were treacherous and the mood was very tense. Therefore, sympathy would be a part of the job that was not taught to them at training camp.
You've got to be able to bend with them. And you know they're letting off steam and they're far away from home. And so you let them go to the point where, you know, it's as long as they're not interfering with somebody else's process, or they're not obnoxious to that point, you let them go. You know, they're just having a good time.
Bar fights and street patrolling was only a third of the job. On the most part, the military police found themselves transporting prisoners. 3 men from a small unit in Guam would find out just how far the long arm of the law could extend by the military and the people from Tokyo. These 3 men had brutally raped and murdered a young girl, and the MPs were called upon to transport the prisoners.
Actually, on that group, there were 9 of us that went. The 3 air police, where we were assigned to each one to a prisoner, and then they had what they call chase people. And they stand guard with shotguns. Because these fellas that we went after were considered pretty dangerous. And of course at the time I didn't really pay any attention. I just said this was a job I had to do.
Because a crime had happened in Tokyo, Marvin and the rest of the MPs were required to hand the prisoners over to Sugamo Prison and Tokyo's law system, which was very different from America's.
People that were sent there were either executed or had received long terms of imprisonment.
Knowing the 3 men had raped and killed a 15-year-old girl, you cannot blame the military police for not feeling any remorse towards the 3 prisoners and the fate that they were about to face.
Didn't make any difference. As far as we were concerned, they were just prisoners. And it was our responsibility to bring them from Guam back to Japan. You followed the orders that were handed down from the headquarters department.
Until the creation of the United States Military Police Corps, America's problems of shipping impassive troops to other countries was indefinitely causing major problems. However, people like Marvin Dimmers and the rest of the military police were there to provide protection, service, and to uphold the law, but most importantly, to maintain decency.